Deputy Minister, dear members of the NATO delegation, distinguished guests, dear students. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this special event hosted by the Faculty of International Relations in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are honored to have distinguished guests from NATO with us today, who will provide valuable insights into recruitment opportunities and careers within the prestigious international organization. Our faculty is very proud to educate future leaders. Many of them work in public service. However, we recognize the challenges that come with pursuing careers in international organizations. As faculty with relevant study programs, international trade, diplomacy, we are actively seeking ways to better communicate job opportunities in international organizations, as we believe our students are ideally suited for such roles. For instance, 2 years ago, we kicked off a collaboration with the European Commission and Charles University. We have launched a project of training students for recruitment into EU institutions. Today's event is another step in our ongoing efforts to foster greater cooperation with international organizations and to demonstrate to our students that career in organizations like NATO are within their reach. Czechia, unfortunately, hasn't yet fully realized its potential in terms of representation in NATO and many other international organizations. Currently, relatively a small number of professionals from Czechia are working in NATO. For students, this could serve as an additional motivation to consider pursuing such a career path. The recruitment process is merit-based, but as citizens of an underrepresented country, your chances may be slightly higher. As you will learn today, NATO is not just looking for defense experts. Its scope is far broader, and with a workforce of over 4,000, it offers a wide range of career opportunities. I am especially delighted to have this unique opportunity to host discussions on recruitment and to hear success stories from those who work in NATO, the world's most powerful military alliance. Earlier this year, I had the privilege of attending an alumni meeting in Brussels, where I reconnected with many of our graduates who are now serving in NATO and EU institutions. We are very proud to see so many successful alumni working there. It's a proof that our study programs are of high quality, and it also shows that getting a job in the prestigious organizations is possible. Hereby, I would like to encourage all of you who will once apply. It may be difficult and it may not work out for a first time, but it's worth and getting your dream job definitely possible. You know it from exams here at the university. No pain, no gain. Last but not least, let me thank to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for cooperation and organizers for preparing this event. Now I'm passing the word to the Deputy Minister, Eduard Hulicius. Thank you very much.
Cell phones, dangerous. Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, thank you very much for coming. We are very happy to introduce you to the opportunity of learning and exchanging views with the Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Borghini, and his colleagues from the headquarters of NATO, of our alliance, which is in which Czechia is active for last 25 years, and I'm scared asking how many of you were alive when Czechia joined NATO. Okay.
I was alive.
Okay. Yeah. not much, but anyway, the world of opportunity open ahead of you is related to the alliance as well. We know that they keep hiring, experts from the fields you are studying, as well as many others, we know that we are not properly represented. We are slightly underrepresented in the civilian structures of the alliance. And this meeting and other meetings, the Assistant Secretary General had today in Prague, are part of a process, of a strategy, of a joint strategy that has the alliance and Czech Republic, where we try to mend this gap. We are not talking about many, we are talking about few dozens of successful applicants who could join and bring their experience and knowledge to alliance, to the joint work for all of us. You will now hear about the process of competition on how to compete for the positions in NATO, which, as I will say now, and you will hear again and again, it's not about military, it's not just purely about defense and security aspects or policies. NATO is hiring people from many diverse fields: communication, hybrid threats, management and scientific fields. That's important to know. In Czech Republic, we have a major issue. Our people who apply for NATO have above average rate of success. Nearly 2% of all applicants succeed. The problem? Too few apply. Too few people make the brave step and try the unknown. And we want to motivate you to apply. You are still studying, I guess, most of you, but maybe you have also some older friends or relatives, and you can tell them that until this Sunday, until the end of the week, is a deadline for applications for a special program, Young Professionals, YPP, Young Professionals Program of NATO, which gives to those selected opportunity to work from 3 to 6 years in Brussels, in NATO, learning and preparing for being an official. We have too few people who applied from Czechia. So please spread this message, or if you are already professors with few years of experience, you can try and apply yourself. It's 6 years in Brussels, I very recommend. Thank you very much for attention, and I leave the floor for our guests for presenting to you and discussing with you on the beautiful topic of employment opportunities in North Atlantic Treaty Organization Secretariat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Also from my side. Now it should be working now. Thanks again. Also from my side, I'm the chairman of this panel. My name is Jarolím Antal. I'm the director for the Center of European Studies here at the Faculty of International Relations. And following up what's been already mentioned, I think it really brings a hope and a certain awareness, which I think seems to be one of the biggest issues, right? Like Deputy Minister mentioned, only few apply. So I think this is a great opportunity for those of you who are interested in the room or watching us online to learn a little bit more about the recruitment process, about the challenges, about the structure, and about the experience. Because I think many of you, not only those of you who study diplomacy or international relations, but also many others. Like it's been already mentioned, NATO is not only about defense and international relations. There is much more inside that is happening, and for those activities also experts are needed. And I think this is a really unique and great opportunity to discuss that. And I'm actually very happy to have here on the panel perhaps the most relevant, those who are in charge this team within NATO. So I'm very happy to welcome here Carlo Maria Borghini, who is Assistant Secretary General for Executive Management. In the middle, Ioana Andrada Tudorie, who is Outreach and Communication Officer at NATO. And Mr. Jorgen Christian Jorgensen, Deputy Assistant Secretary General for Human Resources. When we started to arrange the panel, I said, let's try to keep it as interactive as possible, because I think it's very important that you use the opportunity in asking what you would like to learn a little bit more, because if you look at the webpage of NATO and the HR part, you will learn a lot about how it actually the process works, open positions are. But I think asking those, for them, the HR agenda is everyday business. I think that's something very specific that you cannot learn from other available sources. So again, your questions are more than welcome, and I will do our best to really find the answers on the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open the floor. So we'll be talking today about the NATO as an organization, right? What is actually inside? As it was already mentioned, it is a big organization. I think it's about 4,000 employees. Maybe more than half of them are actually civilian staff. So I think there is a lot of opportunities inside, and also different ones, right? It's not only about internship or the young professional program, and also there is much more. Let's dive in and then let's learn a little bit more. So please, yeah.
Okay, my name is Carlo Borghini. Doesn't work.
We need a second one.
We need a second one. Okay, perfect. So my name is Carlo Borghini. I'm the Assistant Secretary General for Executive Management, fundamentally responsible for corporate service. Thank you very much to the Dean for the invitation, and thank you to the Deputy Minister for the day dedicated to us. It's a great opportunity to be here. We have discussed at length about it, so now it's materializing. I'm also really happy to be here because I graduated in business economics, so myself. So it's something that, not here in Italy, clearly, as I'm Italian, but it's always a pleasure to go back to the same university where you come from. And we have a program in the European Union where I was working there, was called Back to School. And that's a way to be back to school. So I will give you only a flavor of why we are here and why we would like you to work at NATO, or your friends, or your people that you may know. And after I will give the floor pass the floor to JC, that is my deputy for the HR competencies, and Ioana, that is responsible for all the aspects in relation to reaching out, and she's with us for some time now. So I think I really like the no pain, no gain. I will use it with all my stuff now, so the origin, you know where it's coming from. But why NATO? So we have a new Secretary General since the 1st of October, as you may know. And in his initial speech, he mentioned 3 key priorities. The first one, making the alliance stronger, because we want to protect 1 billion people that is constituting the transatlantic bond. The second one, Ukraine, the unwavering support to Ukraine. And the second day in his mandate, he went to Kiev. And the third one is about partnership. And maybe I will dive a few seconds in this because it's quite an important element. So first one about, and it's also relation why we are looking for different type of skill and competencies in the job. The first one is about strengthening the alliance. Clearly is about defense and security, defense and deterrence. Often we are combined with the idea of, and also was said before, we are the strongest, most powerful military alliance. We may be, but fundamentally we are there to ensure security and peace for the like-minded nations, and starting with the 32 allied nations around the alliance. That's the first element. We are looking at how we have safely protected the transatlantic area from a war, while we have one horrible war now in the continent going on since 2022, but started already a bit before somehow in 2014 with the Crimea taking over. And that's one of the key elements. So first of all, when we are looking at NATO, we need to look at the real core of the activities, that is deterrence, so meaning we would like to deter from arriving to a point of a conflict. And defense, clearly, the second element. But also crisis management. And more we are advancing in our strategic approach to deterrence and defense and crisis management. We see that the world is changing. So we are starting to look at all the hybrid components of the warfare, from climate change, cyber, technology advances, space, and so on and so on, quantum computing, artificial intelligence. how all these type of technologies that are bringing unique progress to the humanity are weaponized in a different way. And this clearly is not specifically maybe within the competencies of NATO as such, but all these have impact on the risk that the alliance, the population, the 1 billion people, may be exposed to. It's something that is going on. And we need to be ready and diversify our organization and adapt our organization to be able to face these risks. And for this, we need people with different type of skill and competencies at 360 degrees. From space specialists, from diplomacy, from business economic. I think one of the key topics on the agenda is economic security. How much logistic chains are disrupted by the current situation. How much the theory of chaos when something happens in one part of the world is impacting the other part of the world. So in order to achieve this, and in order to be able to adapt the organization to the geopolitical change inside our organization with these all skills and competencies. The Ukrainian support is concrete, is materialized more and more. We have reopened our presence in Ukraine with our representation, where we are scaling up the capacity building. But also we have a new command has been established by the Council in Germany that will ensure the coordination from the security and training aspects. And we have a different type of commitment from the budgetary point of view to ensure that the support to Ukraine is materialized, is concrete. It's not something that remains on paper. And finally, we have also the third element is the partnership, because the geopolitical situation is global, is delocalized. So yes, we have a major concern to the eastern flank of the alliance. But if you see what is going on in the rest of the world, there is a lot of cascading effect in somehow happening in many parts of the world. Will be the global south, will be the Far East, and so on and so on. So how the alliance position itself requires also the skill and competencies of people. So how we achieve this? Well, we achieve this also retraining our people. So looking inwards, we have programs to help our people to be capable to deal with the future challenges. But one of the key and important elements is how we bring in new generation inside the organization. Also because the reading of the world that new generation have is different from the reading I have, most probably, Ioana has, or other people have. So more we are able to create a differentiated approach, a workforce diversified in all its form inside the alliance, more we'll be able to cope with the geopolitical tensions that are around the world. And this is really the reason why we are here. We want the alliance to be capable to capture the essence of the 32 allied nations, the essence of the 1 billion people are around the world. Because at the end, each nation is the owner of the alliance. That's the key point. And we need to be able to communicate with the people. I will stop here, unless you have immediate questions. And with the agreement of the moderator, I will give the floor to JC.
Faculty, so also the scope is broader, right? It's not about business and economics only. There's IT, accounting, many other programs that I think actually might be very relevant. So I'm also very curious how many of students are those who study different programs, because again, I mean, you also might be a good fit for NATO too.
No, absolutely, and one more reason to be here and engage exactly with the university crowd. As the Deputy Minister and the Assistant Secretary General laid out, the political developments and the political reality of the alliance actually means that the alliance has a very strong brand, if you will. I know that the generation that is graduating now are very value motivated and would like jobs where they identify that they are contributing to a higher cause. Now that, for me, is fantastic, because NATO basically has the clearest brand on the planet. We provide safety and security for 1 billion people. What could be clearer than that? And right now we're in a situation where we're actually shaping the workforce for the next decade or 15 years, because we are growing. We've been growing for the last couple of years, and we're going to continue growth for another couple of years. So this is a golden opportunity for you guys to apply for any kind of job at NATO. And as Carlo said, that brand only becomes stronger when we are a diverse workforce, when we actually reflect the alliance in all its shapes and forms, all the countries, gender, cultural diversity background, LGBT, diversity in all its shapes and forms. And that's why it's incredibly important for me to have these kind of events where we reach out broader, where we don't only hit the security policy community, but we hit all the different faculties that you just mentioned, who may not actually realize that there is a perfect opportunity for them to apply at NATO. And actually, here's your key to how you are successful in that application. And Ioana is going to talk more about the opportunities that you have there. What I think I want to highlight here in the beginning, and this is, of course, in my self-serving interest, that I want you guys to do well when you apply. And that is, first of all, apply, very basic. If you see a job, don't assume that it's already taken by somebody else or that it's dedicated to somebody from the MFA or the MOD or something. Apply, give it a shot. You might get lucky. You might be exactly the profile that we're looking for. The second point is apply yourself. What we're experiencing is, for example, with the Young Professionals program, it's a complicated process. Hang in there. The benefit at the end is actually worth it. But it's a part of a sorting mechanism itself. Show the stamina, show the ability to follow through and drive things to completion by putting in a complicated application process. Then look at the job descriptions, look at the skills and the criteria that we are looking for, and then find examples from your life that shows that you have those skills and that you have those competencies. Rehearse the examples. Rehearse 2-3 minute sound bites on these examples, because that will bring you from the application process to something we call the long list, and then into something we call a higher view, or pre-selection process, which Ioana may also speak a little bit more about today. But this is where a lot of people drop out. It's a video interview, it's awkward, and you have to prepare for it. But if you prepare, you will be successful. Then prepare for the interview as well. Don't come in and repeat your CV if your CV is, even if it's 15 positions long. We've read the CV. That's why we gave you a chance. Come and explain why you are right for us, why this particular job is right for you, and why NATO is the organization that you absolutely have to work for. That is what I look for in an interview process. I will actually leave it at that and then hand over to Ioana for some more specifics about the procedure.
Yeah, Jay, thank you very much for the very inspiring and also encouraging words, because I think this is what is the headline actually of today's event. But I think it's been sort of an appetizer for now, because we need more detail, right? And that's the role for Ioana. So please, the floor is yours. And tell us a little bit more about the structure, the opportunities, the single opportunities, starting from the younger professionals, more experienced or less experienced with internship, etc. So we understand a little bit more what the opportunities are.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so I'll talk a little bit about the internship program, the NATO-wide what we call YPP, the Young Professionals Program, and then the general NATO employment opportunities. Yes, phones are not great.
Guilty as charged.
So I'll dive a bit into the internship program, which is a 6 months full-time internship. It's paid. We are reimbursing the travel for people moving to Brussels for this internship. And we also provide a very rich program. So something that I want to say in particular about the internship program is we are treating the interns like staff. So you're not going to make coffees or print papers for your manager. You are going to be an active team member in the section where you'll be working as an intern. And I think this is really important. I was an intern myself, and I did a lot of work that I was then doing as an intern, and then I did it as a full staff member. So there was the minute I switched from an intern to a temporary staff, a permanent staff, it didn't make any difference in the workload. So it's a really great experience where you get to grow a lot professionally. For the eligibility criteria, I would I laid out the main requirements. You need to be at least 21 years old. You need to be in your last year of university studies, or to have graduated in the year where the call for application is open. We normally open the applications call in spring. I'll have a timeline a few slides later. You need to be proficient in one of the two official NATO languages, not both of them. One of the two official languages. I'm stressing this as it's really important. These are the vacancies that we have. It's in general we have a bit over 100 positions. So there are plenty of opportunities to join across all divisions in all areas, from communications, HR, administration to policy, operations, ICT, etc. You can see them all here. I'm not going to read them, but the point is we have a wide of profiles that we're looking for. This is the timeline I was mentioning. Normally around April and May we open the call for application. During the summer there is the first assessment, which consists sometimes of a logical reasoning test, and then a selective assessment, which can be a video interview, a Skype interview. The final selection, which is normally an online interview, is in September, October. And then you need to count an average between 6 to 8 months for getting your security clearance. It really depends on your national authorities, on your background. So this is something we don't have any control of. So you need to factor that in when you apply. Let's say if you apply in 2025 in spring, you may start your internship in spring 2026 or in the fall of 2026. So this is something you need to take into account and to plan accordingly. Sorry, I went back. Okay. These are the candidates that we had for this year and for last year. So we had almost 6,000 unique applicants this year. You can see a bit the distribution, male, female, which is, yeah, we're getting in the right direction in terms of diversity. And here is the selected candidates. So we had 122 candidates from 29 NATO countries this year. We are really striving to have interns from all across NATO allies. And the average age was 26 years old. And moving to the Young Professionals program, which is currently open for applications. It's really a unique program because it offers you the opportunity to spend 3 years with NATO in 3 different NATO bodies. So it's a rotational cycle where you get 1 year in one body, in one different NATO institution. The first cycle was launched in 2021 and it's finishing now. And then the second cycle will enroll in November, which you know, because you have your successful YPP here. And then the third cycle is currently open until Sunday for applicants. This is the rotation that I mentioned, and what we introduced this year is a specialization cycle. So after the 3 years where you rotate in 3 different locations, you get to stay for 3 more years in one of these NATO bodies as a staff member. So all the YPPs from the first cycle, they got to stay for 3 more years starting this November. The requirements are slightly different than the internship in the sense that you still need to be 21 years old or older, but you need to have graduated a master's degree or equivalent, and to have at least 1 year of professional experience in order to apply. These are the profiles that we're looking for at this call. So it's for the first time we have so many different open positions. We have 13. Until now, the maximum we had was 10. So it's really exceptional this year. We have, as you can see, very different tracks from project management to cyber operations, communications, administration, and international affairs as well. This is a bit of a timeline, so the applications will close on the 27th of October. Towards mid-November, there should be some online games, which is literally logical reasoning tests. Then it's what we call the higher view, the video interview. And then next year we'll move to the final assessment, which is a written test, a language test, and the panel interview. So the final nomination should be towards March or April next year, and the the onboarding will be the first quarter of 2026. So again, you need to plan accordingly, as this is a long-term investment and quite a lengthy process. A bit on the other types of NATO employment, we also have the temporary stuff, so the temporary contracts, which are 3 to 6 months, extendable to up to 12 months. And for this, the requirement is that you're in possession of a security clearance, a NATO security clearance. This is actually very easy for former interns or for those at the end of their internship program to continue staying with the organization on temporary contracts. And then the international civilian staff, which is applying to NATO positions for a definite duration contract of 3 years that can be renewed for another 3 years. Yes, sorry, again, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, moving to some tips for the application. I don't know them by heart to read them from there, so I will just share from my personal experience and from what I know it's best. So first of all, preparation is key. Preparation every phase of the process, as JC said. The pre-screening is the same, is as important for no matter what position you're applying. So even if you want to be an intern or a young professional or an international civilian staff, the pre-selection phase is really important, because this is where we select from 200, 300, sometimes 1,000 applicants down to 15 or 20. So this is where you have your chance to express, to present yourself, to express how your professional experience is relevant for that position. You have specific questions to showcase, to demonstrate your ability, I don't know, to manage teams or to work on defense policies, or I'm just giving examples here. It really depends on the profile and the requirements there, but try to match your experience to what is required in the vacancy notice, and this applies to every job opportunity that we have. It's important to be concise, to be clear, to proofread your application, to make sure that someone who does not understand your particular expertise can understand what you're talking about. It's really important to try to communicate as if you're explaining this to a two-year-old. So this is how you also stand out, because all the process is human-made. So we don't use any AI in this. We don't use any tools in selecting applications. So someone will actually read your pre-screening questions. So bear that in mind whenever you write. So avoid very lengthy answers of 5,000 words explaining how you got some project management experience. Then for the higher view part and the video interview, it's also quite a tough one, but you learn a lot by doing. you get the chance to try it before going through the interview. So you get a link to the platform and you can test it there. But before that, you can film yourself, you can time yourself, you can prepare some basic answers on your motivation, on the key challenges in that position, on the position you're applying, on the aspects that you would want to develop, or actions, activities that you would take in that position. And motivation is really, really important at this stage, at every stage of the process. But here it's something that you can prepare a lot in advance. You can try and be structured about your answer and think, what can I bring to that job? Why am I the right person? Why am I committed? And how can I show these people that I am the right choice for their team? It's important, and when you're on this side, when you are recruiting, you see the person who is enthusiastic, who really wants that job for the mission, for the goal, for all the right reasons. For the panel, again, I think the panel phase is again a moment where you need to prepare a lot in advance, and you need to prepare based on the vacancy notice and the competencies that we are requiring. Try to relate every competency required to a concrete example from your past experience, from your background. Try to see and to synthesize particular, stakeholder management, teamwork skills, to have a bit of an example of a failure, or how you manage it to get past that. What have you learned from that failure, if it was the case? What can you apply from your past experience to this new job? Do your research. This is also very important. I think it's important to say that we don't have any kind of question that would create an advantage for any internal candidate. So all the questions should be answerable with the information that you have as an external candidate. But you need to do your research. You need to read about what NATO is, what the division is, what the section you're applying to does, what are the key stakeholders, what is the challenge, the upcoming most important major events or plans for that section. So do your research. I think you do that already for all your university studies and exams and preparation. So I think you're the right moment to do that and also to do it as an exercise for a job. And just one last thing, a good candidate is not necessarily a good applicant, unfortunately. Fortunately, you may be the best applicant, but the best candidate. But the best applicant is really the one that takes the time and prepares and makes sure that his profile is tailored to what we need. The way he answers to, or she answers to, every part of all the phases of the recruitment process are matching the requirements, the competencies. So it's a lot about how you present yourself and how you frame your experience. And yes, time for questions.
Yeah, Ioana, thank you very much for this very nice and comprehensive overview of different opportunities, starting with internship and ending up with the regular position. Perhaps one side note, at our faculty, we within the programs such as diplomacy, we also recognize the internships as a part of the program. So it means many students actually also do internships either in businesses, but also at Ministry for Foreign Affairs, for example, and many others. And we do recognize this as a part of their curricula. And it's actually also, I think, a unique opportunity why actually students should actually consider this. I think we could now open the floor for questions if there are any. I see a question over there. So and we need mic. So just a second. So we had a question here in the middle, a gentleman in the middle, and then was somebody over there.
Hello. Is it working?
Yeah.
Yes.
Try again. Is it? Does it work? I don't think it does.
It was on before.
What's this?
It was on before.
If that, then you can use this one. It's okay. Okay, please. I can do that. No problem. Thanks. Okay, hello, and thank you very much for the introductory presentation. I have a rather specific question. I know that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, they had some Czech-funded internships at the NATO. So could you maybe describe how that works? Whether, you know, the member states have to initiate that, whether, you know, who has to take the initiative, and whether maybe also, since we have a representative of the foreign ministry, whether the Czech government is planning to extend that, because they're saying that, you know, Czechs in NATO are their priority, but we only have 3 vacancies per year. So how does that work? And is there anything you can do to maybe extend the number of spots? Because I think this is a great entry opportunity for us as students.
Yes. Okay. So, oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it works. All right. It works?
Yes.
All right. So this is different. The internship program, the 122 positions that we have, those are separate from the positions that are funded by the Czech administration. So this is something that is done bilaterally with the Czech administration, and we don't have any control on how many positions they want to fund and for how long. We have already increased the number of interns, and I must say it's quite a large number, 122, given that the entire, this is only for NATO international staff. The entire NATO international staff is about 1,500, okay. So I think it's a bit like, it's a lot, it's a large number also compared to the YPP. So there, I don't think we will increase the number of total interns. And for answering your question on the Czech, I think it would be right for your deputy minister.
Thank you. Unfortunately, the answer is no. The answer is no, because for internship, which lasts a normally limited period, there isn't much space physically at the delegation, Czech delegation by NATO, and also because you would need a security clearance, which takes 6-8 months if you are lucky. So it's a procedure which normally in Czechia you get the clearance for a position that you are applying. You can't come just from the road, from the street. You have to have employment where a security clearance is requested. So it just doesn't fit together, unlike the other organizations. There will be, or we just discussed earlier today, there might be option what we have in the European institutions. They are seconded national experts coming from national administrations for some periods of time. The same can be more developed in the NATO context. But for the straightforward questions you have, the answer is no. As concerns NATO, or as we should be saying properly in Czech, OSAS, Organizace Severoatlantické smlouvy. So there we don't have internships as such. Sorry.
I saw a question. Was the answer sufficient?
Yeah. Maybe just like one last question. I think this is these Czech funded internships. They're a great way to really like cover all different kinds of fields, you know, because if you only have the postings on NATO websites, maybe only people that study diplomacy, international relations, they're going to go there and look for it. But if the government really, you know, promote the internships from their point of view and from their channels, I think they can really reach more target audiences. So this should also be a priority for the NATO and to push the governments to do this.
We don't, in the 120 position of internship, we have all these.
Yeah.
So it's not only public diplomacy, it's finance, HR,
Yeah.
but also in one young professional program, we have one person who spent 1 year with us, at JC, effectively we'll be working with him. But we have all the areas, so it's not limited to any specific area. We are trying really to diversify as much as possible, because that's really the type of input we like to have all in all. But clearly, I don't know if we have the number of applications, but we have 8,000 applications. Yeah. Out of which we have 120 positions. So that's but I know that in the European Commission where I was working before was the same problem. So we had X thousand, I don't remember how many thousand of applications, 10, 30,000, 40,000 against 1,000 applications. So at the end the proportion is the same. So there is no limitation from the type of profile. And also when you look, for example, Joint Intelligence Service Security Division, for example, we may also need some people with an understanding about economics. Because intelligence now is becoming more and more understanding what is behind, I don't know, if a country starts to procure specific material from the market, the question is done for development, is internal, is done for dual use, or is done for military purposes? And often, based on the material, we can detect what's going on. I'm not saying about if you buy uranium, it's quite most probably obvious, but you can have a lot of materials now that are coming to the market on what this type of thing. So don't underestimate the fact that sometimes we are asking for profile that are much open, especially in an entry point. It's more you are going up, clearly we will have much more skill, but at the entry point, really we were trying to take the best to also to take opportunity for them.
I would also follow up. We have internships in NATO, but they are for employees of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the young professionals who start there. So we have a specific internship program for them since 2017. But first, you really need to get to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Also, opportunity, also an opportunity. And now I forgot what was the second thing I wanted to say. Something related to what Mr. Borghini was just saying. Yeah, the information. That's our effort. We are trying to mainstream on one individual website, or probably two, one by our ministry, another at the Office of Government, to have all information about all vacancies in international organizations. Because Czechia is underrepresented in all international institutions, with exception of UNESCO, for some reason. So we need to highlight more. We are very fully aware of the need to attract more, to get more attention to the vacancies that are, because it's difficult to find them, people who don't usually look for them. Of course, trying to get on LinkedIn, on job fairs, that's another thing we really need to do. But to be honest, it's quite a fresh field. And I don't know if I can use a bit moderator. It's not directly internship, but we have here Madame Jankowska, who just graduated. She's one of the lucky 13 young professionals who succeeded in quite tough competition, and she might tell you, if she wish, more about how she did it or what were her steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's what I wanted to offer and use this opportunity to have you here. So hello. But perhaps you could tell us a little bit more how NATO caught your attention, and then why you decided to apply for the program, and perhaps share how difficult it was, how long it was, and whether it was really painful.
No pain, no gain, right? No, I will introduce myself in the beginning, just so you know that I'm not from the international relations field. I'm actually one of the other fields of all the ones that you can see. I'm joining the path of data science and innovation. This is also my alma mater. I studied at the Faculty of Informatics and Statistics. So I'm also back home, back to school. And I must say, to me, I didn't have this opportunity to have this meeting of the representatives of NATO. To me, it was very random, I would say, that I found this position. because I was scrolling through LinkedIn looking for data-related fields, and the YPP, Data Science and Innovation, popped up. And now I have to say that, of course, as was mentioned, you need to prepare, you need to do research, and there's a lot of time that it takes to actually get to the final point. But one thing that I have to say that probably is for all of you, I think I would not be where I am, like in 2 weeks training NATO, if I didn't take the dare, or I didn't dare to send the application. So that's just the main message that I wish to spread, that it doesn't matter if you think that you're exactly the profile that you that is asking for, because a lot of things that you might have experienced, it might somehow be connected, and you will only find throughout the process, you will not know at the beginning. So just try. And now with the painful part, I must say that you cannot plan with it at the beginning. It's a long process. For me, it was 1.5 years. I was actually 24 when I signed up and sent my application. I am from the ones older than the Czech being in NATO and older than Google. But I would say it was worth it. I'm now excited to join NATO in 2 weeks. I will be doing the rotational program first in The Hague, then in the US, then in Brussels. It's very exciting. It's also very stressful, because there's a lot of time that you don't know if the application is going somewhere. You sign in at the beginning, then again there's all the steps that you heard. You have the higher view. It takes 2 months before you find out that you get the higher view. It takes 2 months after that you find out that you can do your final exam. Then you have 3 hours of filling in the final exam. That seems like the 2 years of your life. Then the final interview comes, and each of these steps, you have this time in the meantime where you're hoping that you went somewhere where you want to be. And today, actually earlier, we also had a session where I heard this nice thing that there's no failure, there's just learning. So I want to kind of emphasize that, because I didn't have the failure or the learning part. Somehow it just worked. But I also heard the stories of trying several times, and in the end it's going to work. So this just to say, not to demotivate you in case that it doesn't go through. There's more of the internships and more of the opportunities. So that's one thing. If you have any specific questions about any of the steps that I was taking, then of course I can address it. But for the overall, for the general, I would say that's it.
Thank you very much for this. I mean, it's a great example. It's real, right? You see, this is a real example that it is absolutely possible. And actually, we are the university are actually even more proud, because it's actually around our alumni. So thank you very much for sharing that. And for those of you after the event, you can stay for networking. So I think that's the opportunity where you can learn more about the concrete steps of the process and the lessons learned, and perhaps some concrete tips. But back to the Q&A section, because there was a question in the middle. Please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is pretty basic. I was wondering whether all NATO vacancies are by principle limited to those nationalities which are currently underrepresented in NATO. Thank you very much.
There we go. No. NATO vacancies, these things keep going on and off, but NATO vacancies are, as a point of departure, available for all allies. So all 32, the citizens of all 32 nations are in principle eligible to apply. That's the basic rule. Then there are all kinds of other things, but that's the basic principle.
We have discussed a lot about it. The merit principle is the basic principle in all the processes. It would be traineeship, young professional program, or normal recruitment. At the level of merit, so if you have the 3 candidates that are the final step, and we have, so in the 13 candidates we have in the final step for the recruitment, we try to ensure that we have different nationalities. But the merit is the first criteria. So if unfortunately we have or fortunately, we have 13 checks, and there are only one with the correct merit, it will be like this. But normally, to be clear, merit is the first criteria. Second criteria is any type of diversity in the workforce that we want to achieve, would be gender. Clearly, geographical representation as a major political element because the alliance belongs to the nations and to 32 allied nations, and we want to work on the richness of diversity. Okay? But the merit remains always the first criteria.
So, good morning, good evening, sorry. Thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Paula, I come from Colombia, and I'm doing currently my master's degree here. I've been following the Young Professional Program for a while, and I know it's like a plan for the future. So I'm just starting my first year of master in the life science of Prague University. My question is like, should I start thinking into maybe application, or maybe I should wait until I ended up the degree I got it? Because, as you said, it's a long-term process. So I want to be sure that I am taking it seriously for the future, but maybe that I'm not rushing too much. So I will just take your advice for that. Thank you.
First of all, you have to be a member of a NATO allied country to apply. And yes, citizen. Yes.
Do you have dual nationality, or are you only Colombian?
That was actually a really good question, because it was actually the embassy of my country who proposed me forward to come into the meeting, because they say something about like it was able to apply as a young professional licensed in the Czech Republic. So I am quite confused at the same time.
No, you have to have the nationality of one of the NATO member countries, one of the NATO nations, for all our programs, internship, YPP, normal international stuff. So this is a prerequisite.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
No, it's okay. It was pretty clear, the answer. Thank you so much.
Okay, so you have one more over here.
Employee. I can pretty much use my voice, which is quite loud. Otherwise, good afternoon. Thank you very much for organising this kind of session. And I would have pretty, maybe a silly question, but still I need to ask it. I'm currently enrolled in PhD studies at the University of Defence of the Czech Republic, and there is a requirement, a mandatory one, to pass through an internship which lasts at least 1 month. But for personal reasons, I know that, for example, 6 months would be a too long period for me. And I would like to ask you, I know this wasn't said there, but if there's still any opportunity to apply for an internship which lasts less than 6 months.
We don't have such opportunities. So our internship program lasts 6 months, and that's sort of set in stone. It's part of the program. The other types of internships might be with your national delegation to NATO, and you might try that.
All right, yeah, that's a pretty good idea, actually. Thank you very much. I expected that not answer will be no directly through this kind of program, but thank you very much. Thank you for the idea.
Do we have further questions? The audience? No, really, not yet. Okay, it's not enough.
There is one question.
Oh, there is one, okay.
Hi. Well, it's not a question, but I'm just going to a bit follow up on the internship opportunities. I'm from the Czech delegation, and for everybody to NATO, and I am responsible for human resources, and one of my roles is to attract the Czechs to work in NATO. So I am the contact point. So should there be any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. We are here to help you. But I just wanted to follow up on the internship opportunities. As the Deputy Minister said, the national internship program, it of course applies to to MFA workers, but also to students. Well, more specifically, it has been established since 2017, and it is the initiative of the Czech delegation to NATO and the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the goal is to attract students, to give them the experience to work at NATO. And basically, one of the requirements is that you must be enrolled at university at postgraduate level, or you must be a recent graduate. The internship is funded. The salary is about 50,000 Czech crowns, and it's a 6 months. It's a 6-month internship, and we've had great candidates. We've had great interns, and many of them have been working since at NATO headquarters, or at Czech Foreign Ministry, or at the Ministry of Defense. So, and also there's a big possibility of ending up at NATO. So this is one great way to get into the NATO environment, and the next call should be in the summer. Usually it's around June, July, but it depends. But we will definitely keep you updated, and so it is great. It would be good to follow us on social media, and also to follow our website, where we regularly post information about internship and job opportunities at NATO. Thank you.
Thank you very much also for this information. I think it demonstrates that Czechia is very active in this. I don't know whether the other member states, but it seems that it is actually a way to go. I'm talking about the different types of jobs or roles that you offer in NATO. You touch upon a bit how competitive it is, and that you mentioned, I think, for the internship there was 8,000 candidates, right? Where you only accept 100 something. Yeah. How is it for the different types? Is it also that competitive, or what the candidate should expect? Is it what the chance is in real?
Well, if you are the best candidate, the chance is 1-to-1. The question is normally on the I would say, the lowest profile, we have 300, 200 applications, and clearly, ideally, we would like to have the final 5 candidates interviewed all at the same level of merit. And this at the moment doesn't happen, so we have 1 or 2 candidates that are really the final candidates on which we take a decision. So the selection process is from 300 to the last 2, and the recruitment is one of the final 2. More you are going up, and more the position becomes specialized. For example, defense planner is one of the positions we are talking all the time. Clearly, the number of candidates reduces enormously, but the profile normally are all good because they are coming there. Now, the competition, as Ioana explained, is at all levels. So at the moment in which you apply first, and you submit your CV with the form in which you need to answer some questions linked to the profile, and how you answer them. And we notice, for example, female are more careful in the answer. So female, if are not able to fulfill 100%, they will say no. And a man is fulfilling 10%, he say yes. So you need to answer them properly, because otherwise, when the system provides us the answers, we'll have we start from the candidates that have 8 positive answers and 8 positive on the mandatory criteria and 8 positive answers on the other criteria, and this will be the first candidate we look at. So you need first to do this properly. The second moment is that once we move from the 300, 200 to the 20 to 30 people, normally it is in the long list, as it's called, there, the higher review process, the digital interview, it's really something that you need to prepare. If you have done meetings in Teams during the COVID, or you are doing still Teams meeting, and you are speaking without having, you don't have feedback from the audience, you don't know what's happening, it's the same story. So you don't have feedback from us because you do it and we look at it afterwards all together and we see the different type of, and there the key element will be to be capable in the 3 minutes you have to make up a reasoning about the question. It doesn't necessarily mean perfectly the answer to the question, but you need to be able to sort it out somehow. And in fact, one of the recruitment process we did, we had one of the internal candidates. In one of the questions, she was, in my opinion, high potential to have the job, but in one of the questions she said, I don't know how to answer the question. And when you say something like this, automatically we are read out, so it's okay. And when you go through this process, they normally HR and hiring manager, maybe another person, look at these 20 to 30 interviews. They go to we go to 5 or 6 final candidates. In these processes, both in the long list and in the short list, so the 5 or 6 candidates, if the next candidate is a candidate from a focused nation, we add the person to the list. So in the case of Czechia, that is a focused nation, if the candidate number 6 is a candidate from Czechia, he's added to the short list. So we not interview 5, but 6. And that's an opportunity we create in order to create opportunities. And there, clearly, the interview with the panel, Ioana explained it, you need to be able to explain yourself. We know the CV, so you need to be able to fulfill the reasoning behind it. You need to be assertive. You need to be credible. Sometimes we don't see when the typical question, which is your motivation, if it's not prepared, it's absolutely not interesting often. So these are the typical things in which, so the competitiveness of the process is there. It's not different from what happens in the European Union competition, WTO or UN or whatever. More or less, the process is the same. In terms of length, the only difference that we have compared to many other international organizations is that we have something we don't control, is the security clearance. So at the moment in which we send the candidate the offer, the security clearance can take between 3 months to 2 years. And that's, in this case, clearly something that is much more complex.
Perhaps additional question on the duration of the process, because you said one of the biggest limitations, obviously, the security clearance or issuing the security clearance. But in general, what is the experience? If somebody decides to apply, how long the process is? Is it a year? Is it several months? Is it depending on the type of the position?
It does, of course, depend a little bit. Also on the candidates, like you say, if they already have a security clearance, it can go quite quickly. But of course, we typically, we start talking about advertising a post, we then do a campaign plan, which talks about when we're going to advertise it, when we're going to close it. We usually advertise for at least 4 weeks. So that's already a month for that process. Then we go through the lists. That also takes a little bit of time when you have 300 applications for one job. And the last calendar year, we advertised almost 300 jobs. Then, of course, the next stage is going to the higher. It can be another month. It can be a little bit longer until you get the invite for that. Then we usually take a week or so to evaluate the higher reviews. And then we set up the panel. There we need to give people some notice, especially if they have to travel. A lot of them we do online, but we want to give people some notice to participate in the panel. And then again, depending on the grade, but typically for this crowd, the what we used to call A grades, but academic grades that above, it needs to go to something called the establishment committee. So I would say it's rarely less than 6 months to 9 months, but it really, really depends a lot. But it is, you have to have patience. And I know that because we have so many applicants, we can get better in our communication with the applicants. And right now, we just don't have the bandwidth to tell everybody all the time where you are in the application stage. And that's something that we have to get better at. because we also know that in order to keep people engaged, you will have to keep telling them where they are and what they can look forward to, and when's the next step in the process, and so on. I also at least learned from the engagements we had this morning that we can do better in providing feedback at the end of the process. So of course this is joint effort. What can the country do? What can we do together to get more applicants?
Yeah, you please, absolutely.
I would like to add something to that. I think it's also important to build your application for the future, even if you're not applying now at this YPP, at this vacancy right now. If you're not there, if you see a job that you would like to do, but it requires 5 years of experience, you only have 3, or it requires 7 years of experience, you only have 2. Try to project yourself a little bit and think, where do I want myself to be in 5 years? If I want that job, what can I do in the next 5 years to get there professionally? How can I train? What kind of activities I should take, or tasks I should take in my current work? Should I change the job now? Should I try and learn a new language? I don't know, I'm just trying to think to tell you that it's important to build, because it takes a long time, and sometimes it's better to just think ahead. Okay, it's a cliche question, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? But it helps. In this instance, it really helps to just try and figure out, have an idea where you would like yourself to be.
Thank you. I'm looking at time. We still have 15 minutes remaining. So if there are any questions, please do raise your hand. This is a unique opportunity. Please.
So could maybe the question that was posed by the Colombian colleague be answered? Because I think it's relevant for many of us. For example, I'm graduating in May.
Yeah.
So should I apply, or is it too late?
You need to be a graduate when you apply. So that is a requirement. So you should apply at the next call. And also, you need to have 1 year of professional experience. So it's not only about, it's not just being a master's graduate. Yeah, but you can apply only if you're graduated. So, forward planning, but not that forward.
At least I'll have a free weekend.
I see more here. Yeah, so let's start in the front here, and then we continue.
Hello. Can I?
The mic is right next to you.
It's okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I would like to ask you how it works when somebody is serving at the army, or whatever. Yes. Thank you.
We'd like to.
I'm probably going to have to ask you to elaborate. How does what work? You mean, is it a strength in your application that you have experience from the armed forces? What exactly is the question?
Just if I would like to apply to some internship program or some free post, can I do that if I am serving in an army? Thank you.
So the reason I'm scratching a little bit at the service is, of course, of your question is, of course, NATO is a political military organization, and we have many military posts that you, of course, can go through your Ministry of Defense, your normal defense recruitment process in order to apply as part of something we call the peacetime establishment. Those are nationally paid military posts in what we call the command structure. Then below that, there are other military posts, but I think that's going to be too broad. In terms of your civilian posts, of course you can apply. And of course, understanding the sharp end of the business that we do is never going to be a disadvantage. However, I'm not sure we have the right mechanisms to allow you to take time off to go on exercises and training right now. But I think that comes at a later stage in the recruitment process. But for me, at least, people who come from the military service and have experience with the military service and speak the language of our military colleagues is rarely a disadvantage. And then also, if I may, a lot of the young officers go through leadership training that some of us can only envy. It takes leadership and management skills to bring a bunch of 19-year-olds to the cafeteria and get them fed, and bring them in uniform into an exercise area and actually get them to do what you're saying. So just to say, there are a number of qualities that military personnel bring to the game.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have more questions. That's great. We have 1, 2, and then we continue over here.
Hi, I'm Jan from Olomouc University, and I want to bring here the fresh experience. I applied to NATO internship this spring, and I'm not sure if I understand good the steps in a hearing, but the apply and everything across the first round, but I wasn't succeed in a second round with the logical games. And I'm not sure if everybody who apply received the logical games, to invitation to logical games, or it's divided. I don't know how it works. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You just keep talking.
Okay.
It's all good.
The logical games that we do for the YPP, it was the first year that we had this assessment for the internship, especially because we had a bit around 10,000 applicants in total and 6,000 unique applicants for the internship this year, so it's the largest number we've ever had. So we needed another selection step between the interview and the final selection. So we invited, I think we invited a long list to the logical games, which was a logical reasoning test, right? Yeah.
Okay, good. There was another question behind. Yeah.
Hello. Never mind. I wanted to ask if it's possible to apply for 2 vacant positions in 1 year, or
Yes, you can apply to as many positions as you want. Particularly for internship, you can choose up to 3 different divisions where you want to apply. And for YPP and all the other international staff, you can apply to as many positions you want. It's just that you will need to fill in the pre-selection for every single position. So, and they need to fit your profile.
And be specific. Why that job? I can't tell you how many applications I see who just want a job at NATO. And I'm sorry, then you're not getting it. You need to be specific why that job is good for you and why you are good for that job. On all your applications, that's general career advice. Just be specific.
Okay, there was a question over here.
Yeah, I would have a question to the young professionals program. I personally, not that I've gone through this experience, but I heard about it. There's at certain unnamed organizations when there is a word in the name, something like young professional, then basically people who have a range of years of professional experience, they are not given a preference in comparison to people who are literally fresh graduates who almost didn't have professional experience. So the preference really goes to this fresh potential employees. And I would like to ask you how much this is practiced in NATO recruitment process, that you prefer rather these literally younger professionals than those who have more years of professional experience.
That's a very good question. What I can tell you is that the average age for both of the cycles, so the one that just ended and the one that will start in November, it's 27. And this was not deliberate on our side, so it's not that we tried to keep people under a certain age. There is no age limit, but I believe there is also the common sense of the applicants if you have 15 years of experience, you would look up to a different type of opportunity and not a young professionals program. It's also the fact that it's rotational, so you need to be able to move every year. In general, later in life, when you're mid-level career, you have a family, you're not going to drag them with you around the alliance to move out every year. So in general, we have applicants around, between 24, 25, and the oldest, I think, was 36 that applied. So it was still in the range of young professionals.
Mostly it opens the question why you do it. It's not a question of preference, it's a question if you have done already 10 years of work, why you would like to go to the YPP. And so it's a question mark for any panel looking into these type of things. I recall that in one of my last job, we had a trainee, really a trainee, so not the YPP, but for the 6 months period, I think was more than 45. And it was an Italian lawyer who decided to take a break in his career and try something international. And we asked ourselves what we do with the guy, because exactly the same story. And it turned out he was a super interesting guy, because in fact he had his path. He said, I have my work, I don't have a problem, I will go back to my work and I will do this. But the big question was for us to say, well, we have newcomers that are with basic experience or no experience at all, and here we are, and he went through. So that's what I'm saying. So I don't think there is any type of this type of element there, but clearly the motive in these cases, if people have much more years of experience, the question of why they do this, I think should be quite structured, because these were the panel will ask the questions.
But we'll probably mention some example, real life example. I know lately which decided to get certain education and professional experience in law, and also at the same time in international law. Then she also decided to get professional experience and education also in some other area, which is very, very much more specific. And after she got it all, she decided to go to something like this in certain international organization, because she believed that because right now she's so much specialized, she feels herself so much professional that she can afford herself to serve already on the supranational, let's say, level. So I would pretty much say sense in submitting such an application when you're 30 plus, because years before you were getting all relevant experience to actually basically at the recruitment process. That's why I'm asking. I didn't say that I'm exactly this kind of person. I confess, in terms of my professional experience, I have only 5 years. Also taking into account that I was starting at the same time, etc. And for now, definitely I'm on to 30. But I still keep in my mind such examples, and what if I miss a couple of years and I get into such a situation, how much I would be eligible. But you definitely answered my questions basically. Thank you very much.
And also, what for NATO, young means below 35. So.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. I see there's one more question over there.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask about the security clearance that we were talking about earlier. So currently I'm working for one of the nuclear plants, and I needed to acquire security clearance from our National Bureau of Security. So I'm assuming that's the type of security clearance you were talking about that would be helpful for getting security clearance.
We need to have an international, so we need to have a NATO security clearance, so your security clearance, whatever it is, has to be converted in NATO security clearance, and each country has its own process. So some countries simply have a simple transliteration, some countries start a new process.
What is your level?
It's just a basic one for me.
The basic level is normal. I think personal experience at our it's just administrative matter.
Okay.
They just translate the certificate.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm assuming mine would be like the base level, so it would help them get the higher level, which then could be translated.
For the higher levels, there is a Czech commission that we need to have employment or be at the level of your employment where you need the secret.
Yeah.
It's normal. And then once you have it in Czechia, and once you need it for NATO, so they just consume.
But if you are already known to the services, It's easier. Simple in the good way.
Okay, good. Yeah, one more question, perhaps the last one, yeah?
Yeah, do you have some family missions like UN? Because I'm below 35 but already has a family. And is it a limitation or do some support the kids with the education?
Right.
I mean, in our regular employment system, there are allowances for kids, for family. We pay for school. We don't pay unlimited. Some of the international schools in Brussels are very expensive, but we pay some of it. We don't have a perfect system, but we do have a system which, at least me, as having a kid who goes to school, it helps me make my family work. So yes, there are things like that. There's also other opportunities. We do camps at the staff center. We have a big staff center. We have things that are useful for making family life come together. So the short answer is yes, but then the specifics depend very much on your situation.
Okay, good. Seems to be that we are at the end of this event, but before I close, perhaps just a closing remarks or the question that I wanted to pose, and that leads us back to the beginning where you, Carlo, were mentioning the challenges and then the scope of NATO that is very broad. But I was just wondering for you, I'm convinced that it is the cost for which you work at NATO, but is there something specific that you really are happy that you do in the job, or something that really makes your role super interesting and you are so proud that you have it and that you have this experience in NATO?
I go first. So as you can probably hear, I'm super enthusiastic about working for NATO. I've spent 20 years of my life working in different capacities for Denmark at NATO, then for Secretary Rasmussen, then for Stoltenberg, and then in other specific jobs, and now I'm the head of HR. And what could be more inspiring than taking care of the people who take care of business? And one thing is that I believe at my core in the mission of the Alliance, but also it's just fantastic to deal with all the wonderful people that we have working at NATO, and that's honestly what drives me these days.
Mm.
I started as an intern, and I thought I'll move to Brussels for 6 months, and here I am, 7 years and 6 months later. So I stayed on, and yes, I firmly believe in the mission. But what I love most about NATO is the cultural diversity, is the international environment where you have people from all over the Alliance with their different backgrounds, different mindsets, different languages. It's extremely rich to have all these perspectives in the teams. I worked in public diplomacy before, and now I'm doing this, and I enjoy it a lot because I get the chance to share my experience with people and to share insights about how great it's at NATO and how you can join NATO. And I firmly believe that we need more young people at NATO. I believe in geographical diversity, but also in generational diversity, and this is something really, really important. And I love that I'm in a team that believes that. So that's my motivation.
Okay. I started my career in the private sector, and I work in merger acquisition. And when I started working in merger acquisition, as I said, I was a graduate in business economics. You learn to enter in an organization, to look around and try to understand how you can take it over from whatever situation they are and try to sell to the market. And whatever happened in my career, I ended up to do this, both in the European Commission, in different agencies I was responsible for. And now when I joined NATO, effectively I found myself in the great and amazing opportunity to deal with the transformation that the Allied decided for NATO as from since 2022. And whatever is going through, this is one of the advantages of the people in my position, in the organization, earlier or later comes to my table. Funny enough, we decide a new policy, we decide a new strategy, we decide to reopen the office in Ukraine. At the end, it comes to our desk to see that it's working properly. I was on the phone with a local employee that reopened the representation in Ukraine. It was a tough discussion. People with certain concerns about the security of the situation and so on and so on. But what I'm saying is that if you really believe in what you are doing, I think any job is particular, but when you are in particular serving in a public international organization, I think that is something really rewarding, something that into which you go home, you say, well, I hope I've done something for the world. And I totally support what Ioana said. I said that for me, the best composition of my staff is young, brilliant people, much smarter than me, that are able to challenge what I put on the table. And that is really where I have the opportunity. And I don't work because I need to work. Well, I need to work because I need to live. But fundamentally, I have really a passion. So if I don't believe in the passion of what I'm doing, I don't have interest. As I have so much passion for what I'm doing, I decided to leave my previous job because the job was too much me, and me, I was too much in the job. So it was not anymore separate from myself. So I said to my board, guys, you need to find someone else. I'm happy to make the transition, but be aware I'm going. I don't know where, but I'm going. So for me, that's really the key element. The passion is really the difference compared to the normal running of the business. Now, the bees or the ants are going around all day long. That's not what I like to do. So for me, the opportunity I see in NATO at the moment, and I think this will be for many, many years more and more relevant, it will be really how we can really support the alliance to be strong, to be effective, to deter, and to protect really the transatlantic world from the risk associated to the current geopolitical situation. And this is an amazing opportunity in front of us. It's a unique opportunity that we have. So for me, it's really at the heart of what I'm doing. And I will not be here if I don't believe it. You will never see me. I've been told my staff when I decided to move away from a job, the day after, I was not anymore myself. And they told me it was impressive to see you because we see you completely detached from your job. And I think it's normal, but with me it's extremely visible, so it's, I will not be credible. So I strongly believe this. This is really what I can give you as my 2 cents of experience. Thank you very much.
Well, I think I couldn't imagine better for closing remarks. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing the insights, all the information. I believe this was very helpful and useful for you, and fingers crossed with your applications. And I hope that Czechia will soon be represented enough, and not only NATO, but also in other international organizations. Thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.